you. All right, I'm going to do this as quickly as I can. If you look at the Bible, we would say that the Bible begins with the marriage and the Bible ends with the marriage. In Genesis, we believe that God created us in His image and likeness, male and female, He created them. So He didn't simply create one sex, but two, and there's something about being male and being female. Equal in dignity, but there is a difference between the two, and we acknowledge that. We also say that from the beginning, if you read the Genesis account, especially chapter 2, you have man and you have woman, and that's why husband leaves his father, clings to his wife, and the two become one. They're in union with each other. So what a man and a woman can engage in physically becomes symbolic of what God wants to do with us physically. So here's God, in a sense, God wants to be one with us. So we're destined for heaven, and that plays out in the role of a man and a woman in marital union. We say that that's really important. So you go throughout the Old Testament, a lot of times you hear, in the Song of Solomon, God's calling out, bringing his lover back, or Hosea, the prophet Hosea. When Jesus comes to us, if Jesus says, I am the vine, you are the branches, I am the good shepherd, you are the sheep, he also refers to himself, I am the bridegroom. And we say, we are his bride. So what does Jesus come to do? He comes to actually marry us. Because what original sin did was we separated ourselves from God. There was a break in our relationship. So who is Jesus? Jesus comes as the bridegroom to come back into union with us. On the cross, one of the last things he says is, it is finished. In the Latin, consummatum est. It is consummated. What is consummated? Christ's relationship with his bride, the church. So the two become one like this. So the way that we understand marriage, the way that we understand salvation, it's all intertwined, that man and woman come together, and that's why we call marriage a sacrament. The two become one in that way. And that's why in our tradition we say that a man and a man can do something physically that a man and a woman cannot, and a woman cannot. That's part of our faith tradition as well. If you fast forward to Revelation, what is Revelation? What does heaven look like? What is the image that we're given? It's a wedding feast, it's a banquet, where Christ comes to be one with his bride, the church. That's all of us. So this spousal imagery is found throughout the Scriptures. And in our tradition, what we say is that we want to respect that tradition, even in the liturgical life. So when Jesus, did he break all sorts of cultural norms? He did. He was with the woman at the well at high noon. He shouldn't have been alone. Or hanging out with Martha and Mary and doing all these things. He broke all sorts of moral codes, right? But one thing that he didn't do when he picked his apostles was he did pick 12 apostles, and they were all men. If he broke all sorts of other cultural norms, why not break that one? Or why not take someone like his mother and make her one of those? Well, we say because he didn't, because we haven't been given the authority of that, then we don't have the authority in our tradition to have women as clerics in that way. Again, when we celebrate the Eucharist, what we celebrate is Christ giving his body and blood to us. The priest stands in the person of Jesus in his maleness as the bridegroom giving himself to his bride, the church. And so there's a lot of incarnate symbolism that's taking place there. I would say that one of the big slams is Ephesians 5, St. Paul, it always, husbands, love your wife, women, be subordinate to your husbands, right? Or be submissive. And you say, gosh, that sounds crazy. Paul wasn't saying what we often think submissive or subordinate means. What sub means is under, and ordinate means under the order of, or under the mission of who? Love your wives. How does Jesus love? Does he dominate? Does he crush? Does he abuse? Absolutely not. What does he do? He dies for his bride. He lays his life down. So husbands, love your wives. That means you die. You serve them. You don't crush them or dominate them. And I would say, what woman wouldn't want to be loved with the love of Christ? So that's why we would interpret Ephesians 5. So, do we say that there are different roles within our church? Sure there are. We would say a woman couldn't be a father and a man couldn't be a mother. So I'm a father, and that's how we would explain that. So, also, if you're interested, John Paul II wrote a whole treatise called His Theology of the Body that does an awful lot that I think is very enlightening there. So you could read that too. Thank you.